All right, welcome again to the third video. Now, the UI took a little bit longer than I thought, but that's okay. I think a lot of people get confused and they need to have a good understanding of what the UI elements first. All right, let's take a look at this. And this is a little bit confusing at the beginning, and hopefully you're not going to get too confused. All right, so I'm going to try to simplify it as much as possible. All right, as I said, this is a view controller. iOS or Xcode development follows a model called Model View Controller. Model View Controller, MVC. What does that mean? It means it separates the coding for simplicity from the design. All right, this is your design, this is the view controller, and the model is your code. Well, how do I make that connection between them? So when you first created an app, it gave us few things. It gave us the main storyboard and the launch screen. In the main storyboard, we have a single view controller. That view controller has properties. And in the identity inspector here, you'll see that if we select that view controller, there is something that is critical, and that is called custom class. Okay, this is critical, important. Custom class. Every view controller, every controller that you have here, if you want it to be able to do something with it, you change the behavior, or if you want to interact with it, then you must have a custom class that you can customize. Otherwise, you get the class that comes with Xcode, and then you can't do much with it. All right. So what does that mean? It means this screen is tied to a file called view controller. And if you look in here, you have something called the view controller.swift. It could be Objective-C, it could be M or H, but because we're using Swift, you should have view controller.swift. So if I take a look at this view controller right now, it's empty. And it's empty, this is not right, because I'm using a different program. It's empty, and the reason it's empty is it'll give you haven't done anything with it. It'll give you empty code and then basic stuff, but you need to add to it. Let us take a look. I'll explain to you what these are first. First, this is that UI kit that we talked about before. This is the user interface kit, which is a library that includes a lot of the stuff that you saw in the storyboard, okay? But you need to use it, so it's in here. First, we have a class, and object-oriented this is critical. We'll cover this in another video. So a class, and this is the name of the class. The name of the file usually is what? View controller, okay? View controller. And this is the type of this file, if you think, or the parent of this file. So this is a UI view controller. Now, if I go to the storyboard, I'm going to put them next to each other so you can see. There is one thing called here code assist. We talked about this before, code assist. If we click on code assist, it will give you, because we only have one screen, it will give you the code. Since I selected this, it will give you the code for this guy. You notice here it says automatic. And because this was, if you remember, when we selected it, we said the class for this is that view controller. And that is why when you say automatic, it'll go to this class and shows you the code for that class. That's how they're tied together, okay? The view controller in the storyboard has a custom class. This is your custom class. And when you click on Code Assist, it will show you the code for that custom class. All right? Okay. So how do we do the connection? We'll go back into when we look at the code, we look at these things. But first, I want to make my connections. Connections there are two types of connections. We call these outlets. There is an outlet and there is actions. An outlet, I'm going to right click here and drag. Right click and drag. And usually I put these between after the definition of the class. You have a beginning and an ending. These are brackets, the beginning of the class and the ending of the class. Usually these outlets goes between this one and this one, all right? So you can put it anywhere, but I'd like to put it at the beginning. And I'm gonna call this txt input field, okay? This is my txt input, all right? The type of this, you see how it says outlet here? You can select action or outlet, but outlet and actions are different. Outlet is you wanna get a value and update a value on the screen. An action is that you wanted to do something. You pressed on a function, all right? You pressed on something on the screen and you wanted to do something with it. So we're not doing anything, we're doing only outlets. We just want to get the value from this. So I'm using outlet. And this is the name and this is the type. Most of the time, you don't have to mess with it and you click on connect. You notice you have a circle here, and when you click on that circle, it means connected. Sometimes that circle is empty. It's not, doesn't have a dark spot in the middle. What that means that this outlet has no connection on the screen. So you're defining it, but it has no connection, all right? I'll show you one more thing in a minute. You can right-click in here and drag it in here. And you can give it another name, and this is label output, right? This is what we want to display. And again, it's an outlet and it's a UIB label, and hit connect. So now I have two outlets. All right. And I'm going to leave it at that. We'll come back to these. Sometimes people make a mistake, and then you delete it from here, and then when you run it, and then it gives you an error. We'll get to that debug hopefully at the end. I'll show you what that means. All right. So that is where I want to confuse it. So that is for outlet. What about these things? These I want the program to do something when I do what? When I click on it. So what do? You right click here and drag at the end. Right before at the end. And what do we do here? We select action. An action is a function that you want to execute. So we want to call this C to F. Okay, C to F. Okay, capital C. So usually we don't call it capital C. All right, let's just call it, give it an actual name, convert C to F, okay? Convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. And this is an action. Because it's an action, you have different options here. One of them is called touch up inside. You can do touch up outside. You can do drag enter when you enter the touch field. But in most cases, we do touch up inside. When I wanted to touch it, I wanted to do this action. And the argument, we'll leave it as is, okay? But there are two types of argument. Basically, one of them is the sender, or the, I guess it's a sender right now. Just leave it, this is changed. It used to be a button, okay? Right now it's the sender. So we'll just leave it as is, connect. And now I got a different definition. Do you see this IB outlet? Weak variable, the name of the field, and the text field. Here we got IB action, and then the name of the function, and then what we are receiving, all right? We'll talk about this in a minute, or not, maybe when we do the coding, all right? So you can do the same thing for the other ones. Okay, so this is convert. Again, we want to make sure that you change it to action, convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. Okay, so we have 4 functions. Do this again, convert miles or kilometer to miles. Okay, and again, we want to make that as an action, all right? And the last thing here is the last part. Convert miles to kilometer. Okay, and it's an action again. Touch up inside, hit connect, you're all right. All right, there's a lot more that we can cover, but I don't want to get you to wind up with this stuff, so we'll leave it at that. So that is how we connect outlets and actions. Outlets, to summarize, are the ones that you either receive input from them or you do something with them on the screen or produce output, okay? Or anytime you want to change the behavior, or not the behavior, the look of something on the screen or its value, then what do we use? We use outlets. Anytime you wanted to do an action, perform certain things, we use actions, all right? And then to go back to hide the code assist, you just simply click in here, and now you go back to the view controller, and here is your view controller, and in the next video, we'll do some coding. All right, I'll see you in the next video.